Ubisoft is apparently getting sued for about $1 million US. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this is not maybe that big of a deal for Ubisoft. They are a huge company that probably also has a lot more to worry about than just this. A measly little $1 million is kind of just a little bit of a bigger picture, but this shows a big thing that was apparently going on behind the scenes just last year in the summer of 2025 that involved a very bigwig with the Assassin's Creed franchise, and that is Marc-Alexis Côté. He does not have a Wikipedia page, but this is from the Assassin's Creed wiki. Now, he has been with Ubisoft actually since about 2005, so 20 years. He's gone through many roles, and in kind of the last 5 or 6 years since 2020, he became a vice president executive producer for the Assassin's Creed franchise. Now, he was working on the AC franchise since the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood game in 2010, but this means that once we got to Assassin's Creed Shadows last year, he was in a very big, a lead role there, being the vice president and executive producer. We can actually see in the Assassin's Creed Shadows credits right here. In the Assassin's Creed franchise section, he's at the top of the list right there. So yes, definitely a big wig with Shadows. Now, we all kind of know how Shadows went down. Wasn't exactly received entirely well. Now, I don't know if it's because of this or if it's because of kind of a whole mix of things as to why this allegedly happened. Why Mark was basically allegedly forced out of his position. That is all according to the lawsuit. So we see right here from Kotaku, this is just today. Ex-Assassin's Creed boss sues Ubisoft for nearly $1 million US over alleged force firing. If you remember, this was all happening about 3 months ago. We were hearing about this, that he was kind of coming out and saying, hey, it's not what it seems. I didn't just leave willingly. Ubisoft kind of forced me out. So it kind of explains it right here in the article. It says, in 2025, Marc-Alexis Côté, the head of the Assassin's Creed franchise and a 20-year veteran of Ubisoft, abruptly left the publisher following the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, it says 3 months ago, like I said, so this is about October of last year, he broke his silence to claim that he did not leave voluntarily, but that he was pushed out of the company. Now he is suing Ubisoft for nearly $1 million over what he alleges was a quote-unquote constructive dismissal after being demoted from leading the publisher's biggest franchise. So, a lot to unpack there, but yes, basically, Mark, he is alleging the whole constructive dismissal thing. Now, we see that, yeah, constructive dismissal, even if you haven't heard that term, you probably know generally what it means in the working field. We've heard about stuff like this. Basically, this is the concept of when an employer intentionally creates a hostile work environment, or kind of just like an impossible work environment for a specific employee or a group of employees, basically so that they just have no choice but to leave the company, so that it's like the company can just say, well, we didn't fire them. And that is illegal, by the way. I know this is the case in the US, and I would only assume this is also the case in France, where if you can make the argument and it can be proven that you were the victim of constructive dismissal, then basically you can potentially claim wrongful termination. Kind of sounds like that is what Mark is detailing here. So this Kotaku article does cite a source by the name of Radio Canada. They were the people that broke this whole thing, this whole lawsuit. So I don't have the actual court filing, but we have the article itself, and I have linked it in the description. There are a lot of different details that kind of just show what's in the lawsuit as far as kind of what led up to this, alleged wrongful termination. It paints the picture of how Ubisoft allegedly created this quote-unquote hostile work environment, kind of this impossible work environment for Mark, forcing him out the door. We just see right here a snippet of the article. There was this meeting that was held in the summer of 2025. This was involving a studio called Vantage Studios that was created very recently by Ubisoft and was backed by the investment firm Tencent. Basically, it says that Mark was surprised to find there was a head of franchise position. It was a new position to oversee 3 major games, including Assassin's Creed. Now, it says Mark was surprised to find that this new position absorbed most of his responsibilities. Mark apparently did put in for this position, but the CEO, Yves Guillemot, he denied this. He kind of rejected this, allegedly, saying that in order for Mark to do this whole thing, he would have to relocate, which, according to Mark, was kind of impossible or just not workable for him. It then details how Mark was offered offered alternative roles, different roles that he considered demotions. They were just kind of smaller roles than what he was used to. So then Marc apparently asked for severance pay, and instead of giving him the severance pay, Ubisoft then told him not to come to work. Then they publicly announced that he had voluntarily left, and Marc says that this is not true. So a lot of stuff. We will definitely see where this takes us, where this ends up getting resolved, if it does get resolved, or maybe it just completely goes to court. Who knows? But yeah, as of right now, it says that Marc is asking for about $1 million US, which includes 2 years salary and compensation for quote unquote moral damage. Now, last thing that I find kind of interesting here is that he also wants to have a release from something called a non-compete clause. Now, this is something that apparently is currently restricting his ability to work anywhere else in the gaming industry. Yeah, apparently he has that. He wants to be lifted from that. I would only assume because he wants to continue his own career, maybe with a different studio or maybe his own studio. I don't know, but obviously he wants to continue working. So yeah, very interesting stuff. We'll see where this all takes Marc and where this all takes Ubisoft.